I wondered, where did bone broth come from? Because I think at the moment it's a big buzzword, you know, everybody gets trendy with it, and it's like, have you had your bone broth? Have you been drinking your bone broth? But actually the bone broth comes from the 1800s, when we were hunter-gatherer nation, and we used to hunt for our animals, and basically not one part of the animal was wasted, and all the goodness was used from the chicken. I mean, in this case, you can use beef bones, we can use chicken bones, we can use fish bones. Any of those are fine, and I will go through all the nutrients in them. So, you know, we used to kill when we needed food. We used to cook it, use every bit of the carcass possible, and that's basically where bone broth came from. And I'm sure when you were young, your granny always used to tell you, well, I'm going to make you chicken soup when you're not well. So it's full of wonderful ingredients and super duper great for the health. So to start off with, I've prepared a few pots for you this evening. This first pot is where the chicken is going to go into for starters. So I've basically just filled this up with really good quality water, and I'll show you. I personally use a Biosera water filter just because it's great. It cleans the water and it alkalizes the water at the same time. So I've prepared the water beforehand, gone into the pot, so we're using good healthy water. And we've got our poor chicken here that's going in this evening. So I'm going to get him ready. And he's going to go into the water, just like that. And I'll bring you closer in a minute to have a look. All right, so I've just prepared the water like that. I hope you can see. We've got the camera in the right position. And then all I've done is I've just cut up some vegetables. I've got some celery, I've got carrots, I've got onions, I've got garlic ready for us. There's some lovely fresh parsley. And I'm just going to add that in with the chicken. So I'll just do that for you now. So we'll just add those in. And just make sure that, you know, when you're doing this, that the chicken is pretty covered with water. You know, the whole body's covered. And we'll just add these in for a bit of flavouring for the start of our bone broth. I'm going to add in some black peppercorns, just for flavouring. Unfortunately, I couldn't get the bay leaves, but you could add in some bay leaves. I've got some freshly cut garlic. And I'm just going to throw in some parsley. And it's as simple as that. I think I might have filled mine too high. We're just going to go with it and see what happens. I think I put in a bit too much water, got a bit carried away. And the very important part of this is we're going to add in some apple cider vinegar. And the apple cider vinegar, the one I'm using, contains the mother, which means it's fermented, and I'm just using Bragg's. If you're not sure of the ingredients that I'm mentioning tonight, please pop into the shop, because I do cover some of the ingredients that I'm using this evening, if you're not sure what it is and you know, where you can get it from. If the shop doesn't have it, they'll suggest some places for you to go to get it. So this is Bragg's apple cider vinegar. It's got the mother in, which means it's active and it's fermented. And I'm going to basically put in, I'm not good at measuring, I normally just throw it in, but I'm going to be due diligent, and we're going to add in just 2 tablespoons of the apple cider vinegar. And while we're adding in the apple cider vinegar, it's a really important ingredient, is because it helps. It helps to leach the goodness out of the bones that we're using. So it will draw out all the nutrients and all the trace minerals that we want out of the bones that we need for our health. So the apple cider vinegar is a really important part of it. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the benefits of doing the bone broth and what they contain. So in the bones of the chicken, as I said, just let me reiterate, you can use chicken bones or beef bones, or you can use fish bones. And I would recommend that you get good quality. If you are able to afford, get good organic chicken, or go down to your local butchers and speak to them about the bones. Often they've just got spare bones that they're quite happy to give away. And you can use fish bones, whatever you prefer. Or if you want to get the goodness of all of those, you can just put all of them into the pot and mix them together. So the bones of the carcass, or whatever you're using, contains iron. We've got vitamin A, we've got vitamin K, we've got wonderful amount of fatty acids in it. There's selenium, we've got potassium, and all sorts of other trace minerals. Added to that, if you're using fish bones, the fish bones will contain iodine, and iodine is fantastic for thyroid health. So that's an added benefit. And then the connective tissue part of the chicken gives us a thing called glycosamine or chondroitin, and that's fantastic elements we need for joint health. I mean, I don't know if you have joint health problems, you'll know that basically it's found in the connective tissue part of the carcass. We've also got marrow, the actual bone marrow inside. It contains vitamin A, vitamin K2, zinc, iron. It's endless. Selenium, omega-3 and 6 fatty acids. And all the parts contain collagen, which is the hype at the moment, and all the ladies love it because it's supposed to make us look amazing, and the eternal fountain of youth, they say. And it also, besides that, it gives us really important amino acids, which I'm going to explain to you in a minute. So as you can see, it's very, very nutrient dense and really good for us. Okay, so what is the big hype about the bone marrow? What kind of things, what are the benefits it's giving us in our day-to-day health? So the main one that I always go on and on about in clinic and to my patients is it's amazing for digestive health. So it's very easy to digest, and also it helps the absorption of other minerals into the gut. It contains gelatin in the bones. That the gelatin helps bind to water, and then that helps to coat and help the transit through the gut. So really good. It also helps to protect the mucosal lining of the gut. And it also helps with the function of the intestinal wall. So what it does is, in the intestine, you've got the cells knitted together, and they should be really tightly knitted together. And sometimes what happens is, they call it a condition called leaky gut. These cells separate and they create gaps. And what happens is the L-glutamine, which is in the bones, goes in and helps these cells to heal, and they close together and they maintain the integrity of the gut. So I'm sure a few of you might have heard of a leaky gut syndrome. And this is when molecules that are supposed to be in the gut escape through these holes in the gut lining and end up on the other side of the body where they're not supposed to be. And we get things like allergies, food intolerances, and causes a whole host of problems in digestive health. And then, as we know, especially in times that we are at the moment with COVID, 70 to 80% of the immune system is made in the gut. So if we get our gut health on top form, our immune system is going to will benefit from that as well, and our immune systems will be strong. So, the bone broth is marvelous for that, really good. The other thing is it helps to fight inflammation. So the bone broth contains a whole host of amino acids. I've mentioned one of them already, which is the glutamine. It also has a thing called glycine and arginine, and that is very, very anti-inflammatory in its nature. And it's also been found, there's some studies I've found that it helps with inflammation in obese, especially in obese women. There was some studies done. And as we know, chronic inflammation is going to lead to diseases such as diabetes, arthritis, metabolic syndrome. It just kind of goes on and on. And another good thing is that it improves our joint health. Collagen contains gelatin, And it also has, as I said before, it has the chondroitin and the glycosamine in it, which is fantastic for joint health. So anybody struggling with arthritis, I myself have rheumatoid arthritis, and I find that it's really, really helpful for my joints and for pain in the joints. It's really good. So that's all the benefits on it. So what I would do now is I'm going to take the chicken out, and I've boiled for a bit. I would normally leave it for a bit longer, but just for the purposes of today and our timings, I'm going to take the chicken out. And some people don't boil the chicken first as a whole chicken. Some people just roast it first, but I like to boil it just to get some goodness going in the water before it goes into the oven to roast. I've just put the chicken in the tray. You can see that the vegetables are still in the water. And I'm just going to put the chicken in the oven, and you can just roast it like you would normally do, whatever you like to add to the chicken. There's earlier on that one that's ready, and I'm going to show you later on how I pull the meat off the bone. I basically put whole lemons inside the chicken. I've put in some onions, and then I added in some sweet basil that I've got growing here in the kitchen, and just added in a little bit of coconut oil into the chicken, and some herbs and spices, and basically put them into roast. I'm just going to pop the chicken in the oven. That's away roasting now, and you can go and relax while your chicken is roasting in the oven. Do what you need to do, the jobs that need doing around the house. And then I was thinking also about other things we could add into the bone broth that will make it a little bit more exciting, and perhaps some added benefits as well. So I was thinking about some herbs to put in. Really, you can put in any herbs. I've got some dried herbs here. These are also from Napiers. Napiers sell them in 100-gram bags. So you could just take and add in some herbs. I was thinking earlier on, you could add in great herbs for gut healing, such as marshmallow you could put in. It's really, really good for gut health. So whatever you like, you could just put in dry form. I've also got some seaweed flakes that you could add in if you wanted to give it that sort of flavoring, or you could get some nice packs of dried seaweed and put that in with your bone broth to give it flavoring. And the other thing I put aside here for you are some mushrooms. I picked this one out on a forage with Monica, and I don't have the heart to cut it up, so I've just kept it like that. This one is called a birch polyspore, and you could just slice it very, very finely and put it into the bone broth, and wonderful medicinal values. And any sort of mushroom, medicinal mushroom that you feel an affinity for or like, you can put that into the bone broth as well. We're going to carve up the chicken, and this can get pretty messy. I'm not very good with knives, actually. I think I'm going to do it by hand. Everything just goes back in, and then I'm going to put that one side for you and show you that I've been cooking this one now for 2 days. I put it on very low heat. Okay, and that's kind of where it's at and how it's looking at the moment. So that's been cooking for 2 days, very low heat. Just leave it on low and just let it slowly cook. So what's going to happen is all the nutrients that I've been talking about, all those nutrients will go into the water, and yeah, all the benefits will be in there. And then all I'm going to do is I get a big bowl, and I'm going to use a strainer, and basically all you're going to do is strain. I'm just going to put that in there actually, because there's... Okay, so all you're going to do is literally just strain. I won't do all of it, just a little bit to show you. Just strain it out, and you're going to be left with all the bones, the veggies, everything behind. And you're keeping your liquid Right, so that's what the liquid looks like from the one that's been cooking for 2 days. And I'm just going to, and then all we're going to do is you take that, and I'm going to say cheers to the bone broth, and you just have that, sip it away. Tastes pretty good. And you'll find that when you do it with the beef bones and the fish bones or the chicken bones, they all have quite a different flavor. And if you add in your seaweed or your mushrooms or your herbs, that will also add some really nice flavoring to it. The minimum would be roughly about 12 hours. They say that the minimum is 12 hours, but the idea is that the longer you cook it, the more goodness you're drawing out of the bones. So it would be best to leave it as long as you can, but I would say minimum 12. And often what I do is I just leave it, you know, if I'm working, or a lot of us are working from home at the moment, just put it on the stove and do what you have to do and just leave it to cook away. So you could use it in things like, it would help with allergies because that's helping the immune response in the body to slow down. You could use it with psoriasis, eczema, joint health, any sort of joint conditions, you know, pain in the joints, arthritis. If you were worried about the amount of fats, and the thing is, it's omega-3 and 6 fatty acids, right? If you were concerned about that, other people don't put the skin in, and they would skim. Sometimes what happens is it gets a little bit of foam on it, and you can see it, and then people skim it off. Some people do that. If you feel, I don't. I'm not concerned because I do a lot of exercise, and I think it's unfortunately in the 80s, if you were in my era, we were drummed in that fat is the evil child, and that has changed now. But yeah, I'm quite happy taking in that amount of fat because it's good fats. You don't have to worry about it. It's actually maybe better in a slow cooker because you can just leave it and, you know, not worry about it. It's quite safe. And also the slow cooker will use a lot less electricity. So perhaps with the fish, I would just suggest cooking, you know, either baking it in the oven or cooking it as, you know, frying it, or however you would do the fish, and then stripping it. I think with fish it's a little bit difficult because the meat's just going to come straight off. It's not as hardy is the right word, perhaps. I hope you've all found that helpful, and a little something extra you can add while you're homebound. You can get cooking with all your bone broth, especially it's 12 hours cooking. Thanks everybody for joining. We appreciate you coming, and please know we're here to support you during these difficult times.